This question always baffles me. This overwhelming preponderance of historical evidence of Jesus' life is stifling, yet somehow non-believers want to spread the pollution of his non-existence through the rumor mill. It reminds me of a quote. Aristotle, famous Greek philosopher, 700 years before Jesus, said that a perfect human being could never exist because collectively our population would quickly seek to murder him. Because in his reflection of impeccability and flawlessness, we would see all of our own imperfections and deficiencies. So instead of using him as a role model of the ideal and striving to equal his purity, we would jointly decide it would be much easier just to kill him and then imagine ourselves as good. And remarkably, Aristotle's foreshadowing came true. Once a perfect man did exist, and we couldn't bear the truth of it, so we executed him with great haste. The answer is simple. If you coalesce together the most famous people from the ancient world and tallied them together with all the written archival evidence of their lives, it wouldn't come close to the evidence we have of Jesus's day in, day out life. For example, let's name some random famous people from antiquity, like Sargon I, Julius Caesar, King Herod, Caesar Augustus, Alexander the Great, Cleopatra, Ramses II. Now, if you combine all the historical records and accounts of these people, combine them all, it would not rival the first century historical evidence we have of the day in, day out life of Jesus of Nazareth. It wouldn't come close. We have more information on Jesus. Therefore, not believing in Jesus' life or his existence is nonsensical ignorance. Now, not believing he was the incarnation of God, the hypostatic union, well, that's a different issue. But to prove his actual human life, theology and faith are not necessary for that. Only history. Although this question does actually bring up a nice meditation to reflect on, and that is the immense, staggering fame of Jesus. Now, at first, hearing that, you may think, so what? Jesus is famous. So are a lot of people. Yeah, but not like Jesus. King Henry VIII is famous. Albert Einstein's famous. Abraham Lincoln's famous. But Jesus supersedes their level of fame. His fame almost has a breath of life all on its own. Every couple of years, Time magazine or some periodical will put out one of those 100 most famous people in world history, or 100 most influential people in world history. You see these all the time. People love lists, right? It's always some arbitrary tally of noteworthy celebrities or historical figures of some distinction. But whenever lists like this come out, 2 and 3 and 7 and 11 and 14 and 8 and 6, they're always up for debate. They're always interchangeable. You can mix and match them. But if the inventory is meant to be academically authentic, number one is always the same person, and you can't deny it. Jesus Christ is, far and away, the most famous, most influential, and most significant human being who ever lived. With that said, the most fascinating part to me, when you consider who Jesus was in his human life, there is absolutely no way he should be famous. It was incredibly difficult to achieve any semblance of acclaim or notoriety in the ancient world without wielding immense power or, at a minimum, great wealth. Jesus had neither of these things, yet rose to be the greatest celebrity in world history. Let's examine and chronicle all the disadvantages facing Jesus in his stardom. One, he was from a dusty little no-name town in a forgotten corner of the Roman Empire. He was not rich, but in fact dirt poor. He had no impressive title or registry to him, no promised lands of inheritance, He was not an illustrious king of any earthly kingdom, in no way considered royalty, at least not in the flesh. He was not a great military hero, not a conquering warrior. He had no government title or station like a Caesar or tribune or proconsul or even a procurator. He held no religious position or office. He was not a Pharisee or a Sadducee in Jerusalem. He was not well educated or trained as a scholar in Jewish law. He was not a scribe. He wasn't an exalted poet or an author or a writer, like Virgil or Tacitus or Josephus. He was simply, as described in the New Testament, a tekton, which basically means, a stone worker, basically a general laborer from Galilee. Now, the odds of an individual with that resume or pedigree not only rising to fame in antiquity, but then easily becoming the most important human being who ever lived without some kind of divine assistance and nature, as a historian, I would say impossible. But as usual with Jesus, all things are possible.